Thank you very much, Darren, and welcome to all persons who have been able to join us here this morning in our webinar. My task this morning is simple, and it is to tell you a bit about Crime Stoppers Trinidad and Tobago. So I trust you are seeing the logo on the screen, and this logo is the Crime Stoppers logo, the Crime Stoppers Trinidad and Tobago logo. Let me tell you a little bit about Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers is an international organization. Crime Stoppers began in 1976 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and it has evolved into an international organization that is now present in 26 countries across each continent, and we have more than 1,200 programs worldwide. So when we hear Crime Stoppers, it's not just Crime Stoppers, the guys in Trinidad decide to do something. Crime Stoppers is backed by history. Crime Stoppers is backed by a lot of organizations working similarly to have tips reported. When did Crime Stoppers Trinidad and Tobago start? I don't know how many of you in Trinidad remember the young lady to our right. That's Wendy Fitzwilliam. She was Miss Universe 1998, and she was the reigning Miss Universe when she crowned Miss Botswana in May of 1999, and that's when Miss Universe was held in Trinidad. It was held in Chagaramas, and Miss Universe was held in May 1999. May 1999 is important because 1 month before is when Crime Stoppers Trinidad and Tobago started. So Crime Stoppers Trinidad and Tobago began in April 1999. What is Crime Stoppers Trinidad, or CSTT, as we, not TSTT, but CSTT, as we affectionately call Crime Stoppers? Crime Stoppers Trinidad and Tobago is a non-government organization, and we are served by volunteer board of directors. So we are served by directors who are all civilians who come from the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Commerce, the Chaguanas Chamber, the Coover Point Leasers Chamber, the Association of Trinidad and Tobago Insurance Companies, the Tobago House of Assembly, the Small Contractors Associations, the Employees Consultative Associations. These are the constituent members of our board. You realize there are no police officers there. You realize there are no government agencies there. Crime Stoppers is a private organization and is served by a volunteer civilian board of directors, and we are also served by civilian call takers. So what we're saying is Crime Stoppers is not the police. I remember doing a presentation some years ago, and somebody in the audience was saying what they need Crime Stoppers to do is to buy some vehicles and buy a helicopter and buy a boat and run down the. That's not Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers is not the police. We have never been the police, and we will never be the police. There's a very important link to the police that I'm sure you would recognize as we continue this morning. Crime Stoppers has one simple premise. Our premise is that not only criminals have information about crime. When we're speaking about crime, the person who did the crime, that person has information. But what we're saying is that you as a neighbor may have information, you as an employee may have information, you as a limer may have information on crime. So it's not just the criminal have information on crime, but we all have information on some kind of crime or some suspicion of wrongdoing. And we encourage people to report suspicions as well. Now, if you have information on crime or suspicious activity, you have several options. The first option you have is to do nothing. Do absolutely nothing. And sometimes when I speak about do nothing, I say the people who do a little above nothing, what they would do is buy a pit bull and put it in the yard, or make sure that their yard is properly fenced with a tall wall. But basically, what you're doing is you are trying to make sure that you alone are successful. You alone are successful in fighting crime. So the next option you have is you can report any crime to the police. You can make a report to the police and let the police know what is happening in your particular area. But if you make a report to the police, you may then become afraid that you are targeted as an individual. You may be targeted. Somebody would recognize that you reported it to the police, and they may want you to be afraid. So you have the option as well of making a police report. Okay. the next thing that can happen is that if you make a report to the police, you may be afraid of being a witness. You may have to be a witness in court, to appear in court and so on. So you may be afraid of being a witness. So based on that, you may be afraid to report a matter to the police. Crime Stoppers gives you the third option. The third option from Crime Stoppers, we remove all fear. The fear of having to be afraid of somebody targeting you, the fear of being a witness. Crime Stoppers removes that particular fear. And how do we remove that fear? We remove that fear in two ways. The first way we remove that fear is by giving you an anonymous number to call. The anonymous number is 800-TIPS, 800-8477. It's a free call. So if you have no money on your phone, you can still make the call. There is no caller ID. So at our call center where we take the calls, there is no way the call can be traced, and there is nothing that can identify you. So you remain completely anonymous once you call Crime Stoppers. The other way the next option Crime Stoppers gives you, we give you the option of reporting online. And we have Todd with us this morning, and he would speak a bit about that. You can go online at crimestopperstt.com at our banner on our homepage, and you can report any kind of criminal activity. Okay, so those are the two options you have with Crime Stoppers about when you have information about crime. Now, the thing about Crime Stoppers is anywhere you take to report crime, you get a code. So if you call us, you will get a confidential code. If you report online, you will get a confidential code. And in preparing for this one webinar, somebody asked a question in our question, the option we gave for question. They said, how is it that somebody reported a crime to the police in Trinidad and the police knew who called, the police was able to come by their house and ask questions and so on? We are saying at Crime Stoppers, that can never be a Crime Stoppers call that was made. There's the police number 555, there's the police number 999. These are not anonymous. But the number 800-TIPS, it's anonymous. And all you get from us is a code, and that's the only way we know you. We never know who we never know who you are, and we never know the crime that is reported to us. So you will never see on the newspaper, police acting on a Crime Stoppers tip was able to do such and such. What you may see on the newspaper or hear on the news is police acting on a tip received, was able to do this, was able to do that, held somebody with a gun and so on. Those are the things you would see that would many times reflect from Crime Stoppers. Then people ask about, okay, but you're asking us to go to the bank to collect money. We pay up to $10,000 in 10,000 TT, that is, in rewards. And all the bank needs from you is the confidential code that we give you at Crime Stoppers. You go to the bank with that confidential code, you ask for the operations manager, and the operations manager would give you an envelope that would have all the the reward that you would have qualified for. So all the bank needs is your confidential code. The bank does not need you to sign any document. The bank does not need any ID. No ID is required. No name is required. That's all the bank needs to be able to provide you with the with your cash reward. Okay. Okay. What can be reported to Crime Stoppers? Any kind of offense can be reported to Crime Stoppers. If you know of a murder, that can be reported to Crime Stoppers. If you know of a firearms offense, that can be reported to Crime Stoppers. If you know of a robbery, many times we see these WhatsApp videos coming to us about robberies. That can be reported to Crime Stoppers. Any kind of offense can be reported to Crime Stoppers, including things like fraud and including things like illicit trade. Now, illicit trade, we have a campaign right now, not just in Trinidad, but across the Caribbean, where the Crime Stoppers program are involved in encouraging people to report illicit trade. For example, cigarettes. Cigarettes is one of the most illicitly traded items across the globe. And the proceeds from illicit trade are normally used to fund many large criminal enterprises such as gangs and guns and so on. So we encourage people, if you know of any kind of illicitly traded items, whether it's cigarettes, alcohol, pharmaceuticals, some of these fancy brands that you have, Crime Stoppers take reports on these things as well. 800 tips, crimestopperstc.com. So I've been speaking about Crime Stoppers. I've been telling you how you collect your reward, how you make a report to us. What about our results? I'm quite sure you're happy to see these results. I am elated when I see our Jamaican sisters. So this is not our results, it's Jamaica's results, but it's ours by the Caribbean. But this is what we have been doing since we started. We have received over 600,000 calls at Crime Stoppers, over 23,000 tips. We've been responsible for 1,663 arrests. We have been responsible for stolen property being recovered to the tune of 23 million. Now, if you break down that 23 million, it means that it takes you to $87,000 worth of stolen property being recovered every month over the last 22 years at Crime Stoppers Trinidad and Tobago. It also shows that we have calls to be recovered in narcotics, $296 million worth of narcotics. And all these results, we have not known anybody who made these calls. It's been received from an invisible army of anonymous tipsters. So this morning, Crime Stoppers is inviting you to partner with us. We are asking you to spread the word about Crime Stoppers. Many of you would not have known about Crime Stoppers. We're saying spread the word. Let people know about the webinar that you were part of this morning. And what you can also do is to invite us to come and share with your group. We're sharing virtually, so you can invite us to come and share at your group, whether it's your church group, your community group, your neighborhood watch group. We would be very willing to come and share. A partnership with Crime Stoppers Trinidad and Tobago means that our families feel much safer, and it also means that our businesses are much more confident to operate in our country. So I thank you very much for allowing us to share this morning, and I look forward to what you may want to know about Crime Stoppers again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Garland, for that compact report on Crime Stoppers.